Hey there booktube, welcome back to my channel. Today I am recapping my top 10 most influential fiction reads of 2016. I'm in the St. Nicholas Park, and so you might see people just wandering around in the background of my video because this is New York City and that's what people do. If there's a camera, they want to be on it. I mean, it's not enough that I'm on the camera, they want to be a part of the video too. So if you see some random people doing some really weird things, just remember, it's New York. Stick around for my video. Welcome back to my channel. Today I am recapping my top 10 favorite fiction reads from 2016. My top 10 favorite fiction reads from 2016 are not just books that I rated 5 stars and gave glowing 5 stars, but they were books that after I'd finished reading them, the characters stayed with me. They motivated me to go on and read other things from that author, or characters that I felt close to long after I'd read the last chapter. So in 2016, I read 100 books, including 65 fiction reads. It is very difficult for me to choose 10 from 65, but I'm gonna try. Number 10 on my list is Kitteridge by Elizabeth Strout. This Pulitzer Prize winning short story collection was very influential. The stories are connected as they follow Kitteridge throughout her life and around the town. Each story focuses on different characters. They have very different themes, but they all are related. All the characters relate to Kitteridge in some way. This was an idea that I started to work on in my own short story collection. So when I found this book and saw how it was related, I thought that was so interesting. So Kitteridge is number 10 on my list. Number 9 is this play by Tennessee Williams entitled A Streetcar Named Desire. Even though I read this recently, this book I have talked about so much. There are lines from this book that I have quoted myself. I have heard other people quote that I didn't know that they came from this book. Towards the end of the play, where Blanche says, "I've always depended on the kindness of strangers," it's just a line that stuck with me. I thought about it. I meditated on it. I thought about how, I wouldn't want my friends, wouldn't want my family to depend on the kindness of strangers, because I had failed them in some way. Even though it's fiction, even though this was a book from the early 1940s, I can't remember, the 1940s or 1950s, this was a play that is relevant. I think it's one of those timeless themes that cause you to just think about life. And so Streetcar Named Desire is number 9 on my list. Colleen Hoover's November 9th made my number 8 spot. Colleen Hoover writes young adult and new adult fiction, and I apologize, my eyes look like I'm crying. November 9th followed a couple who met on November 9th one year, and then it followed them over a course of 5 or 6 years of a relationship where they decide to meet every year on that day. And this was the book that epitomized that phrase that I had heard people talk about, all the feels, because this book inspired and provoked and enticed so many emotions in reading it. I was enraged, disappointed, in love, in hate, upset, angry, sad, happy. This book evoked all of those emotions and more. And after reading that, I gave November 9th 5 stars, but it also inspired me to go on and read another of Colleen Hoover's books. November 9th is the book that started it all, so it gets number 8 spot on my list. In the number 7 spot is The Rosie Project by Graeme. As a professor of genetics, Don Tillman thinks about mating all day for his job, and so he gets to a point where he decides it is time for him to also find a suitable mate. So Don Tillman, the maker of the lists and the guy who lives his life in such a rigorous, ordered way, decides to embark upon the wife project. He creates a list of attributes that his wife should have, and he decides to begin accepting applications from women who would be suitable as a mate. And he meets Rosie, who unfortunately fails to meet his expectations, and so she is deemed unsuitable. But they embark upon some kind of a friendship, and so begins the Rosie Project. Why was this book so influential? I felt like Simpson stayed true to his genre. He wrote about a socially awkward character and kept him true to himself even while he was showing us character development. Even though the book is a romance novel, Don doesn't fall in love like a quote-unquote normal person. That is the kind of writing style that I like to emulate. The Rosie Project is number 7 on my list. Number 6 was a book called Boy Snowbird by a young Nigerian-born British writer called Helen Oyeyemi. Helen Oyeyemi has been writing and publishing books since she was a teenager, and this was the first of her works that I had read. It was billed as a fantasy magical realism, but I felt like it was mistyped, but as literary fiction I thought it was a wonderful read. This was such an influential read because I was just so impressed by Helen Oyeyemi's writing. I went on to request other books by her, and so she sits in the number 6 spot. In number 5 place is one of my new favorite writers, Nicola Yoon. She is Jamaican born. She lives in the United States now, so she's an American writer. I feel like she is like me, and so because of her background, I felt like I would read and love everything that she wrote. I read Everything, which is a young adult fiction, and I absolutely loved it. So Nicola Yoon gets my number 5 spot. Everything followed a girl who has the bubble disease. So her entire world composes of herself, her nurse, and her mother, who is her doctor. And throughout the book, we see her move from acceptance and tolerance of this status that she has had of being locked in her house to being just unwilling to stay inside and being prepared to deal with the consequences of going out, even if it means that it's going to kill her. It's a fascinating read. Since then, I have also read The Sun Is Also a Star by Nicola Yoon, which is her second book. There are books that when you pick them up, you just know that your world is going to be transformed. You know that after reading that book, you will think about life, you will think about yourself, you will think about your relationship to the world and everything in it in a different way. Beloved was one of those books. It follows Sethi and her daughter, Beloved. Beloved is the title character, but she doesn't seem like she's the main character, except when you think about it, she is the protagonist because she is the one who pushes Sethi and Denver and everyone in the town to do the things that they do. Sethi was formerly enslaved. She escaped slavery. She's now living in the post-emancipation period. She has some children who she also helped to escape slavery. Her husband is missing. Her mother-in-law is dead. Most of her family is gone, and she has to deal with the consequences of the things that she has done to escape slavery, done to get her children out of slavery. This is such a thought-provoking book. If you haven't read it, I really recommend it. I'm going to include it as one of the books that I'm recommending for my book club readers in 2017. So Toni Morrison's Beloved gets the number 4 spot on my list. Everything I Never Told You by Celeste occupies the number 3 spot on my most influential reads. Lydia is dead is the first line of this gripping novel. That's the first line, and it hooks you immediately. It is a story of a Chinese American family as they discover that their teenage daughter, the favorite of the family, is dead, and they're trying to understand why. Did she commit suicide? Was she killed? And what are the signs that this was going to happen? The I in Everything I Never Told You is a pun, because at first you might be thinking that the I refers to Lydia, all the secrets maybe that she died without having shared. But as you read the book, you realize that this is a tale of family secrets. All the members of the family have a secret that they never shared. And so it becomes a discussion, it becomes a look at family secrets, about generational curses that just don't get broken because parents don't reveal things to their children. I gave this book a glowing 5-star rating, but that's not why it's on my list. So what made it so influential is Ng's writing style. The first line is a hook, and everyone I've heard review it talks about just how enthralled they were from the first line. Everyone wants to know, how is Lydia dead? Especially when you find out that she's the favorite of the family. How is she dead and no one knows? But the way Ing weaves the story with flashbacks and flash forwards that segue from one person's story into another is just so well done that there's no way that I couldn't put this on my list. So Everything I Never Told You by Celeste Ing occupies my number 3 spot. Interpreter of Maladies by Jhumpa Lahiri is my number 2 pick. Number 2 only because there's another book that I think was more influential, but if I had to choose my favorite read of 2016, it would probably be this book. Jhumpa Lahiri won the Pulitzer Prize for this book. It is a short story collection. Because Jhumpa Lahiri's background is Indian, so a lot of her stories focus on Indian immigrants, their experiences living in their adopted country, or just living back home but maybe away from their families. The stories are so well written. Like, I find myself wanting to just hold on to this book and model my writing after hers. The characters speak to you, the characters appeal to you in some way. The title story, Interpreter of Maladies, follows this man who is a cab driver and is tasked with carrying a family around, and he falls in love with the wife and starts to fantasize about continuing some relationship with her. She asks for his number because she wants to send him pictures of the day because they've included him in their family outing. He gives her his number, and throughout the day he watches, and as he's fantasizing, as he's seeing little chinks in her relationship with her husband, and he's fantasizing about putting himself into that role, he watches the way she treats the paper with his information. At the end of the day, he watches the paper roll out of her purse and fall on the ground, and so he knows that when they leave, she will have no way to reach him. And he kind of realizes that it doesn't matter because she probably wouldn't have ever reached out to him. The stories in this book, they made me laugh, they made me think, they made me cry. And so Jhumpa Lahiri's short story collection, Interpreter of Maladies, gets the number 2 spot on my list of top 10 most influential fiction reads of 2016, only because, drum roll please, da 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 da, only because it would be impossible for me to say that there was a book that was more influential on my life than this book, Me Before You by Jojo Moyes. Jojo Moyes, Me Before You. When I first read it, I didn't read this copy. This copy I acquired when I went to her book signing. I first read a copy from the library because everybody was talking about it, and I said, okay, let me just check it out. It didn't look like a book that I would probably want to read, but I was like, I don't read romance novels. I don't have time for romance novels. I'm not gonna read it. But everybody was talking about it, so I said, all right, let me check it out. I went to the library and I got a copy and I read it. And I rated it, I think, maybe 3.5 stars out of 5. I wasn't blown away. It was intriguing, it was interesting, it was thought-provoking. I didn't like the ending. I said, okay. But I liked her writing style, and so I said, let me read more from her. But over the course of the following days and weeks and months, look, I couldn't stop thinking about these characters, and so I went on to read 7 Jojo Moyes novels in 2016. So there's just no way that I could say or justify that there was another writer who was more influential in 2016 in my fiction world than Jojo Moyes. I met her. I went to her book signing at Barnes & Noble. This is Jojo Moyes and Emilia Clarke at the book signing. And this is Jojo Moyes signing my book, I think. It was awesome. I also gave her a copy of my book, and she was just so excited to meet me. That's what she said, and I believe her. And I was so excited to meet her. And so Jojo Moyes, Me Before You is my number 1 most influential fiction read of 2016. So there you have it. Those are my top 10 most influential fiction reads of 2016. I hope you found some new recommendations, some new books that you want to read. Leave me a comment down below and let me know what was your best fiction read of 2016. I'm always looking for recommendations. I'm always looking for great books to read. So thanks for watching my videos. See you later. Bye.